Alright guys, welcome back to the Florida Buzz. Again, sadly I don't have my camera girl with me. She's busy with my son at the moment. I just wanted to talk about let me get the part number because I don't remember a damn thing. Professional Products Harmonic Balancer. Part number 90012 meets SFI specifications. Good up to 10,000 RPMs. I don't know how reliable that reading is, but that's what they quoted me. So I chose this harmonic balancer because I went with an internal balance on my 408 Magnum build. It's really good quality, beautiful looking. I just hope it performs as good as it looks. Now with that being said, this is the two-piece harmonic balancer. It's neutral balanced. If you need weight, you can actually add weight to the back. It comes with 3 different weights. Yeah, we went ahead and installed it. What I did was, it's not fully pressed on. I had my harmonic balancer press tool walk off on me a couple of weeks ago, so what I ended up having to do was I took a screwdriver, I went in between the second throw and the second main, and what I did was I put a screwdriver up in there to keep this camshaft from slamming back and forth, and yeah, I went ahead and tapped it on with my 2-pound, dead blow hammer. You know, the one with the sand inside it. Sounds like a salt shaker. So I beat that on there so it wouldn't mar it up. I got it in just far enough to where I could catch with the threads. I used some of my leftover, where's it at? I used some of my leftover ARP fastening assembly lubricant. It's really nice. It'll keep your threads from getting all chewed up from all the pressure. So I got it beat on enough to where I could get about 2 or 3 turns in with the harmonic balancer bolt, and then I went ahead and threaded it on. Unfortunately, I couldn't find my 1 1/4 or my 32 millimeter. I think I left it at my shop. I most likely left it at my shop. So tomorrow I'm gonna have to go up in there and see if they're open. Thanks to this COVID-19 virus, a lot of my coworkers are above the age of 60. I'm under 30, so I have nothing to worry about, except for my asthma that acts up when I get sick. But yeah, so we've actually went from having limited hours to having no hours. So right now my extra tools that I thought I wouldn't need because I thought I brought everything home ended up backfiring on me. So I got that on about halfway. I'll finish it up in the morning. I'll probably, make a quick video, maybe edit it into this one before I post it. Probably not, guys. I film all these videos on my phone. I'm not big on video editing or anything like that. I just wanted to fully document this build because I've got a lot of time and effort into crunching numbers on this thing, getting my compression ratio right, my static compression ratio right, my duration numbers right, my tunability right, my performance, my aftermarket performance parts in order. You know what I mean? Because guys, when you take these old smoggers and you start, hyping up everything, you got to really hype up everything. You can't just pick and choose what you want to do unless you're willing to, go back to carburation. Then you can get a good price on a whole bunch of Dynastor equipment and you can go from there. But if you decide to keep the factory equipment, like I've got my 5.9 ECU down there with my harness, when you switch all this stuff over, I mean, you really got to start, upping everything. Like for instance, we went with the Edelbrock aluminum heads so I could comfortably run 10-to-1 compression. We went with the Comp Cam's ProMag 1.6 rocker arms to complement the heads. The lift I've got on my cam is pretty much as much lift as you can get out of these heads, which is, I believe it's 580, which is a decent amount of lift. I mean, you can make some decent power with 580 lift. A lot of people have talked about it online, about these heads being decent out of the box. I mean, they're phenomenal as far as property-wise goes compared to Magnum aluminum heads. Or I'm sorry, Magnum steel heads, or again, cast iron heads. Jesus, I'm all over the place today, guys. But the main thing I wanted to touch base on was that these dissipate heat so fast that you can actually run the compression that 10 years ago you couldn't run on these when these heads weren't available. I believe there's a couple other companies out there that make aluminum heads for these motors. Like I think TrickFlow is one of them. They're insanely priced. I think they're like $3,000 for the set, or at least $2,500. But the thing that I've really heard about these is that if you port and polish them, there's actually enough wiggle room in these heads to probably get an additional 100 horsepower out of them. Now remember guys, airflow will not improve torque unless you're talking about boost levels. what improves torque is displacement 9 out of 10 percent of the time. There are things, like I said, there are things airflow-wise you can do to improve torque, but torque mainly comes from what the energy that the motor creates. So meaning compression, static compression, displacement. That's what really creates torque. So like I said, if you take these heads and you port and polish them, you could probably squeeze another 100 horsepower out of them from what I've seen in like hot rod magazines, port and polish jobs, junkyard, I think it's Junkyard Garage, all those guys. These Edelbrock heads, they're not just made for the Magnums. Edelbrock makes heads for almost everything, and they're, like I said, and for a factory made in bulk replacement, they really do a phenomenal job. I mean, they're beautiful heads, but like I said, there's a lot of room for improvement. With that being said, the horsepower I should make out of this motor should be right at 500. It might be under 5, maybe like 485 to, I would say at the lowest it'll make about 485 at the crank. And that's good enough for me, I'm not looking for 600 horsepower. Now, I'm not saying down the road if I get bored with it, I might not pull them off, send them out, and get them port and polished. But for now, they'll do the job that's at hand. Because my main thing that I was after with this build is torque, and I've got plenty of it. I mean, right off idle, all the way out to about $5,000, I think is where my torque stops climbing. And I believe on the computer-generated statistic that Hughes Engines did for me, I believe my max torque was around 525, which is a lot. But just to give you an idea, in the computer simulation, they said at 1,500 RPMs, I've got about 250 foot-pounds of torque. 3,000 RPMs, I've got 305, I think, foot-pounds of torque. At 4,000 RPMs, it's at like 400 and something. And I want to say at 4,500 RPMs is where it hits home, and it's over 5. Now, mind you, those numbers could have been wrong. That computer generation was done a long time ago. But again, I'm getting off track. The main thing I wanted to touch in this video was the harmonic balancer. It's a phenomenal quality. It's a phenomenal build. I've heard stories of these outer rings spinning off. I guess we'll see what happens. If that does happen, I could always go back to the original one-piece design. But I'd probably have to find out where the weight is in it and correct that. Or I could always go with like a 3.9 Magnum harmonic balancer, because I've got a 3.9 Magnum harmonic balancer on my truck or on my motor in my truck right now, and that one's held up. I've put like 12,000 miles on my truck. I haven't had one problem out of that harmonic balancer. So again, we'll see what happens with it. It's beautiful looking, I'll give them that. It's well constructed. Yeah, guys, that's about it. Like I said, I don't want to ramble off on other stuff that's not related to the harmonic balancer. I've done that in almost every one of my other videos. Stay tuned, though. I'm going to do my cam card. I'm going to go over my camshaft in full detail. I'm going to go over my Flowtech headers that really don't need much of an introduction. They're more of just a budget header, but those are normally $250. I got them on eBay on a blowout closeout sale for $80. So I just couldn't pass it up. My original go-to were probably going to be JBA or Hooker. Were going to be my main ones. But when it comes to shorty header guys, I mean, there's really not much of an improvement through the brands. I mean, what you see is what you get. One might have bigger primaries. That would probably help you. But then again, when you start making stuff bigger, it might help you, on the top end, but on the low end, it will hurt you. So you really have to, talk to someone that really knows their stuff that'll help guide you to get you the results you want. And that's really what I did. When I started out on this build, guys, and I started doing everything on my own, I thought, this would work and that would work and this would work and that would work. And then I started actually talking to some people that actually knew what they were talking about, and you wouldn't be surprised how far off I was. And I've been doing this 11 years. I mean, when it comes to performance parts, guys, there's a lot of stuff that comes into play that will hurt you a lot more than it will help you. The last thing you want to do is put some Mac Daddy super high compression build together. You run it down the road, it detonates from lack of octane, or it detonates from your compression ratios just being too high for the street or pump gas, and your whole motor goes out the window. I mean, I probably have about $4,000 into this entire build, and the last thing I want to do is blow it up. Now, mind you, I'm all for blowing your stuff up and fixing it. I do it daily. But I want this thing to last at least 6 months of beating the hell out of it before it blows up. So with that being said, guys, that's the Harmonic Balancer. Professional Products is the brand. Again, the part number is 90012. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.